Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you the exercises you need to do if you have a desk job like I do. Welcome to Integrated Wellness Warrior, where we believe in building a strong body, a clear mind, and a whole life. I'm Malia, a personal trainer and social worker, and here we integrate physical fitness with mental well-being to help you become your healthiest, happiest self. I'm here in my office now at work. I work as a social worker in an elementary school. You can see I'm here at my desk, and that's been one of the biggest changes for me, coming from working as a personal trainer full-time to now as a social worker full-time, is that I work in an office and I sit at a desk. When I was personal training, I was up and around and on my feet all day long. And I mean, it got exhausting, but I noticed that I had far fewer aches and pains. It was easier to keep my weight down. It was, I was just on the move all day long. And that's not to say that here, there aren't many days that I am on my feet running around. If we have a student elope from a classroom, I'm part of the safety team, so I will be part of the team to run out and try to catch them. When we have like fire drills and things, I'm out trekking across the field and making sure everybody's safe. And then I'm just up and down all day, like pulling kids from the classroom, gotta go make copies, gotta come back down. But I noticed that like my step count when I'm at work is usually only like 5,000, as opposed to when I was working as a trainer, I was getting like 15,000. So I have to make a really concerted effort to make sure that I'm getting in physical activity throughout the day, but also I have to set aside a designated time to do that. So throughout the day, I'm making sure that I get up and take walks as much as I can. I mean, that's going to add to my step count, and also just, make sure my joints stay moving. But also for someone with low back pain, especially flexion intolerant low back pain, sitting is the enemy. It's making all of my back problems worse. So anytime I can get a break, just get some movement like to my hips, kind of extend my low back, leaning back and just rolling my shoulders, kind of, even if I can't get up out of my desk, making sure I'm getting in movement probably like every 20 to 30 minutes is helpful. And I know that so many of us have desk and office jobs, and like the reality is that it is so bad for us physically. And for me personally, I feel like it's bad for me mentally. I have ADHD, and in girls, it doesn't often look as hyperactive as it does for boys. But as I got older, and once I received a formal diagnosis, for me, I realized that hyperactivity shows up for me in the fact that it is extremely hard for me to stay seated for a long period of time. So just like physically, I need that break to get up, but also mentally, I definitely need a break to get up, get out of my seat, go change my scenery, and then I can come back to my desk and be more productive for typing reports, entering attendance information, all that stuff I do as a social worker in an elementary school. So what I recommend to people when they are, they have a desk job like me, is to be really intentional. Think about the way that we sit all day. So I'm here in my chair. I try to sit tall, but I know as the day goes on, I kind of slump in my seat. So I'm like rolling forward at my hips, rounding my lower back. Sometimes I sit with my heels elevated, and I know that's making my ankles even tighter, and I have bad ankle mobility anyway. So that's really bad for me. My glutes are completely turned off. Core is completely turned off, not engaged when I just sit here. So then I try to think, what is the opposite of that? I'm here 8 hours a day, sitting for probably like 5 to 6 of those hours. So when I go to the gym, I'm trying to do the opposite of this. So when I'm at work and my shoulders are rolled forward, when I'm at the gym, I'm thinking of ways to open my chest up and to get that upper back stronger, so that it can pull my upper back, shoulders tight together in the back, but also make sure that this stays open. I'm working on making sure that my core is engaged, because it's been turned off pretty much all day. Same thing with my glutes. I've just been sitting on them all day. So I'm going to make sure that they're active, firing, and working when I'm at the gym. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing ankle mobility to try to undo that, that bad habit I have of elevating my heels when I'm sitting at my desk. I'm really going to try to open my hips, because my hip flexors have been crunched up and really flexed all day, keeping my legs bent in that 90-degree position. So I'm going to try to do the opposite. So I'll show some exercises I do to kind of open that up, but it really affects my approach to training in the gym. I'm like, you probably won't see me very often on a machine. I'll do it occasionally, but not that often, because I'm like, why do I need to sit down more? I've been sitting all day at work. I drive to work. I don't need to sit anymore. So I try to do as many exercises as possible where I'm either standing or out in a position like a plank, just to give my body a break from being in that position all the time, all day. That's how we get kind of locked up into that. So I'm going to show some diagrams of something called upper cross syndrome and lower cross syndrome. And these are becoming increasingly common, especially in office workers like me. Do you ever have any challenges like this from sitting? How do you kind of undo I don't want to say a sedentary lifestyle, because I consider myself a really active person, but just by nature of my job, I sit a lot. So how do you undo those effects so that mentally and physically you are not as affected by them as many people are? Let me know in the comments. So here's an example of some of that problematic seated posture at a desk, pretending I'm typing here. So I'm usually looking up at my screen, looking down at what's on my desk. I usually have my heels up high, and I'm also keeping that neck bent, kind of shoulders rolled forward the whole time I'm staying seated there. So this can cause some problems long term, such as upper cross syndrome. And what this is a collection of imbalances. So here you'll see that the neck is weak, the upper back is weak, but the upper back is tight and the pecs are also tight. Same thing can happen in your lower body, but here it's called lower cross syndrome. So your low back muscles are tight and your hip flexors are tight, but your glutes are weak and your abs are weak. So in order to counteract these syndromes that can develop from all of this sitting at a desk 40 hours a week for years at a time, these are some of the exercises I include. The first thing I do, like I said, those upper back muscles can become very weak and stretched out. So I do this banded pull apart. And what this does is just helps to strengthen those trapezius muscles, the posterior muscles of the shoulders, posterior deltoid muscles. All of those things get super stretched out. So here I'm just trying to make them stronger. On the contrary, I take that same band and now I'm pulling it back overhead while pulling it apart to get a really big stretch in my pec muscles. Also leaning back to counteract all the looking down I do all day long. So again, we're just trying to do the opposite of what we do in those times where we're seated at our desk all day. So opening up the chest usually feels really nice after you've been on your phone or computer all day long. Next, strengthening our glutes. Because we're sitting at a desk and all we're doing is sitting on our butts, we're definitely not actively using those glutes. So any opportunities we can do, such as these are a glute bridge, squats, deadlifts, any other exercises where we're really focusing on strengthening glutes is going to be a great idea and a great way to help prevent low back pain that is so common in many of us desk dwellers, because we're seated and those glutes are just doing nothing. On the other side, here I have low back strengtheners. As I showed in the diagram, the low back tends to get weak, and it's also tight, and muscles can be weak and tight, and that's what happens in our low back. So here I'm just getting into extension, again doing the opposite of what I do at work all day, where I'm bent forward at the waist. I want to make sure my low back is strong so that I don't start to have tightness moving up into my mid back. Low back is supposed to be pretty stable, not supposed to be very flexible, not supposed to move around a whole lot. It's supposed to be very stable to help our spine stay in place to where it's supposed to be so that it can protect our nerves. Very important. So I'm keeping low back really strong. On the other hand, now I want to make sure my hip flexors and even my ankles are really, really mobile. So I like this one because it's kind of a 2-for-1. As I lean forward, I'm opening up that back hip capsule, but also rocking forward. As you see, my ankle moves back and forth. I'm trying to keep that foot really, really flat, just to get the most range of motion out of my ankles, because you see how I usually sit with them at my desk, which is super bad for making my calves very tight, which I notice when I run. So this kind of undoes the effect of that. And then maybe even most important are going to be exercises to strengthen your core. When you're sitting there, your abs are completely switched off, doing nothing. So any opportunity, whether it be planks, one-arm planks, plank jacks, anything to strengthen those core muscles are going to help offset the effects of sitting at a desk 40 hours a week. These are the exercises I do to help me stay healthy even though I have a desk job. What about you? Let me know in the comments.